And the icebreaker question is, from your level of government's perspective, what is the biggest opportunity and the most pressing concern for Richmond Hill?
So yeah, I am an eternal optimist as well, and I really do believe in the power of our businesses in our community. But what I would say is, as mayor, I've had the real pleasure of going to a lot of really great news stories and visiting businesses in Richmond Hill, including grand openings. And while this is a really difficult time, and I think we can capitalize on the challenges that we're having, and really come out the other end of this with our businesses even stronger. So I think that's the real opportunity here. I will say though that in doing all of that and all of the other things that we do at the municipal level, I am becoming increasingly concerned about the ability for cities to fund themselves in a fair way without over-relying on property taxes. And this is something that's been an ongoing conversation with myself and the folks up here, and including Daisy, who's not here today, but also with the Ontario Big City Mayor Caucus, and also with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. And it is a work in progress, but I think ultimately we really do need to find a funding model and a revision of the current model that we have to fund cities better and fund cities more equitably and more sustainably.
And the question is, what is your level of government doing to help Richmond Hill transition to cleaner energy and improve environmental resilience, and where can coordination be strengthened?
So I've always been really proud of Richmond Hill and its track record on environmental issues, and this is long before I was even on council. They were doing a good job. But in the last number of years that I've been on council, and certainly in the last few years that I've been mayor, we've been trying really hard to be more specific about what we're doing. One of the things that I'm really proud of in Richmond Hill is we're constantly looking for, in some of our larger users of electricity, we're always like arenas, pools, that kind of thing. We're always trying to find ways to make that better. And when some of the older machinery comes up for renewal, we try to find machinery that's new, that's more energy efficient. We changed all of our all of our street lights to LEDs a number of years ago, and saved enough money by doing that to pay for it in short order. So we're going to continue doing that. We have a community energy and emissions plan that we're following, and we are looking for net zero emissions in the coming years. And I guess the final thing I would say is that we've leveraged a bunch of funding from the federal government in our in building of new homes and incentivizing the building of new homes to not only build homes that are affordable, but also building homes that meet or exceed the environmental guidelines that we have. So I think that's also, building in the right way is also something that we're looking to make sure we have with the tools that we have available to us.
So the question really is, how is your level of government helping Richmond Hill business manage cost pressures from tariffs, global trade shifts, and supply chain disruptions? The second part of the question is, what impact does the Buy Ontario mandate for all public funded buildings have on your procurement options?
Well, thank you. As I kind of alluded to earlier, the thing about being on municipal council is that you see things right on the ground. That's what we specialized in. And the message that I'm getting from the many, many businesses that I've visited or had conversations with over the last few years, we have a really dynamic business community in Richmond Hill, and it's increasingly built on and increasingly being built on a foundation of businesses that are solution-oriented, high-tech, in a number of different areas. And I think that really positions Richmond Hill in a more, not that it's not difficult right now in any business, but it positions us in a more favorable way to come out the other end of this. And what I think we really need to do right now is not waste this crisis. I mean, there's any support that we can get through additional credits to incentivize businesses to do research development and the types of high-tech activities that lead to high-tech type jobs that we're very well positioned in Richmond Hill to take advantage of due to our very highly educated workforce will help us in the end. We have an economic development department, as I said. They're there to support businesses in a number of different ways, which I won't get into with the time I have available. And one of the first things we did as a council is to adjust our procurement policies as much as we legally could to be able to work with local companies, both here in Richmond Hill, but even in the province and Canada, and increase the amount of procurement that we can have as a corporation to local businesses to help them. So it's an all hands on deck approach. And I can assure you in Richmond Hill, that's exactly what we're doing. And as I said, any support we get from other levels of government and other places to increase the kinds of incentives that our businesses really need right now will be absolutely welcomed by myself, but certainly welcomed by the businesses that will be the recipient of that help.
What actions is your level of government taking to improve housing supply and affordability in Richmond Hill? And how do you think can the three levels of government work better together on approvals, zoning, and infrastructure?
So I've always maintained that the main bottleneck in housing right now is not municipalities. It never was. We get blamed a lot, but the work that we've done in Richmond Hill to make sure that there is red tape reduction, we streamline our zoning process as quickly and as effectively as we can to get applications in the door and out the other end of the pipeline. And we've done that. And we've done that with some help from other levels of government to help fund innovation in that space. But right now, the bottleneck is not there. The bottleneck is in the market. The bottleneck is, we have tens of thousands of units that are approved in Richmond Hill, ready to be built, but they're not being built for legitimate reasons. I mean, it's really hard to be in the building industry right now. But what is really helping Richmond Hill is things like the Housing Accelerator Fund, which we received a couple of years ago. The money is now out the door. It's going to result in about 1,300 rental units being built in various places across the city. But of those, a couple hundred of them will be actually meeting the definition of affordable. But what I would say is because we're using the money to target rental by definition is affordable to more people. And so I think that we're using that resource and that incentive to make things happen. We're not there yet. I mean, we're still in the middle of a housing crisis, but it's really, really important that municipalities be supported in the way that they need to be supported in order to incentivize the bottleneck, which I believe, as I said, is in the market right now, to actually get the shovel in the ground and get going. And a lot of the builders right now are not able to do that because their pro forma just is not working and they don't have buyers on the other end. So we really need to be strategic about that. I've spent enormous amounts of time talking about this to other levels of government, to the Ontario big city mayors, and I believe the solutions are there. We just need to make sure that we can implement them and implement them very, very quickly, because frankly, a city that is not affordable is going to be uncompetitive economically as well. So there's all kinds of practical and human rights issues around the need for housing. But in front of an economic group like we are today, I really believe that that's important to get it right from an economy point of view as well.
How is your level of government supporting Richmond Hill businesses in diversifying export markets and attracting global investment?
Well, thank you. So I guess two things. First of all, on a daily basis, we are looking for investment. We are looking for companies to come to Richmond Hill, and our economic development team again does the heavy lifting in making sure that their feelers are out, they're listening, they're acting on leads, and that happens all the time. But one of the things that happened that was really, I thought, was very fascinating last year, and I don't think Richmond Hill has necessarily gotten out in the world enough. So one of the things that we did to change that is we did our first ever trade mission to Germany. And we attended Hannover Messe, which is a huge conference with a lot of high-tech type companies, the kinds of companies that we want to be here. I will say BMW, we had a great meeting with BMW in Munich. It was a really fantastic time, and thank you, Andrew, for helping to make that happen. But the one thing that I will say that came out of that I was totally inspired by when I got back was just how receptive companies from all over Europe, all over the world were to the business case for coming to Canada and specifically Richmond Hill and investing in our community. We have so much going for us here in Richmond Hill. We have location, we have a highly trained workforce, we have the businesses already here that are doing really fantastic things in the world. And I believe that the businesses that we have in Richmond Hill are the businesses of the future. So I really am inspired by that. And we are going to be going back to Europe again this year to solidify and look for more of the types of contacts that we made. But I have absolutely no doubt that Richmond Hill will be successful in that area because of what we have right here that we can be very, very proud of in our community.
Crime is increasing, housing is expensive, jobs are shrinking, doing business is getting difficult. My question is, what are the measures coming in place to provide more powers to law and order agencies to allow residents to be comfortable? As of now, we're living in a third world country. So, Mayor West, you want to take the first crack at it?
Okay, well, we don't live in a third world country. I mean, that's not true. And in fact, quite honestly, I find that mildly offensive. But what I will say is that the city has done a lot of work. Sorry, not just the city. The region of York has done a lot of work in the last two budgets to really increase the resources that the York Regional Police have in order to respond to the kinds of crimes that are happening and make those resources in places that actually make a difference to the feeling and the absolute safety that people have in our community. This is an incredibly important job. A lot of the crime that we're seeing today was not crime that we were seeing 5 years ago, or at least run by the types of individuals that are doing it. This is organized crime, and it is very difficult to crack that, but YRP has shown our statistics are getting better. They're not there yet, but we have seen improvements in car thefts, we've seen improvements in the number of homicides and so on. And those are the types of results from the investments we made last year, and we're expecting to see more results this year with the investments that we've made with YRP. But don't get me wrong, I mean, we're not there yet, and and increasing the number of police isn't the whole answer. So I'll stop my answer here, and my federal colleagues can carry on from there.
Many scientists emphasize the importance of presenting truly wild green spaces. How does Richmond Hill ensure that the city remains green for short-term well-being and long-term future?
So I've always been really proud of Richmond Hill, as I said earlier, about their commitment to being environmentally friendly. And we are lucky in Richmond Hill to have very big sections of land that are cordoned off from development and will always be green. It's very hard sometimes to continue to protect those, but we will continue to do that through partners. I know Darryl Gray is here from the Toronto Region Conservation Authority. I'm on the board of that great organization, and they're really working hard to make sure that we can continue to preserve those places. But I would also say that Richmond Hill has, for example, increased its urban forest canopy, despite the fact that we had the emerald ash borer come through here and wipe out all of our ash trees. We've still increased the forest canopy, and the number of trees that we have planted. And when I planted them with the community, when I first got on council, they were very, very little, but now they're not very, very little, and they are starting to grow. And the fruits of those efforts are really starting to show. But we will continue to protect green spaces because honestly, that is a hugely important part of what makes Richmond Hill in my estimation. So listen, thank you very much again, everybody, for coming. I really enjoy being able to talk about my home city. It really makes me very, very inspired to be here and to see the folks that are here today that are running the businesses that are making our community in large part so great. I will just say quickly, for those of you that are Persian, Iranian, thank you very much for what you're doing, and my heart goes out to you. If you're not, find somebody that's Iranian and give them a hug. Because what they're going through right now is really, really difficult. And it is definitely impacting us as a city. This is not them, this is us. They're our friends and our neighbors. For those of you that are going to be celebrating Lunar New Year in the next little while, let the party begin. And for those of you that are going to be celebrating Nowruz right after that, Bring it on. Thanks very much. We live in a great, great city. I do not disagree for a moment, and we need to keep it that way. Thanks a lot.